Hello. We return to Richter rowing the party through the dark cavern below the Minotaur territory. What is troubling is how much you can hear them. You can hear the sort of reverberal rumblings of the community up above. Yelling, clashing, brawls, a little bit of music, but not much. It really does give you the feel of going through enemy territory, even though you are hopefully safe. While you're traveling, your boat lit up like a Christmas tree. Torin, where did you cast your light? Did you cast it on your little dangly-do?
Usually he does, but he actually did an ET phone home so that you can close the fist and hide it.
So what does that mean? What is it?
The
ET
tip of his
phone
finger.
home? Can you cast it on yourself?
You can cast it on objects. He wears gloves.
Object. Oh, okay. I'll allow gloves.
If you're not happy with that, I can't.
No, that's fine. I was just really wondering.
Like not on.
Torin, what is your armor class? I'm asking for a mate.
I'm not sure I want to tell you, mate. Actually. 18.
Guess what? You're my mate.
Hey!
That was really cute.
Those lads, you get shot by an arrow.
You don't. You're going through a dark cavern. The light you're casting is very good at guiding forward, but it doesn't reach the top of the cavern. There is a swooping of air and a screech. As it happens so quickly, you just see a shape swoops for you, Torin, and you're like, whoa! It's like, it's big. Whatever it is, it was large and kind of flappy. It went back into the darkness, making an animalistic, screeching, gurgling noise, kind of and then back again, up to the top of the cavern.
Anyone see what that was?
No,
It
but we
looked
should
big.
definitely go quicker.
Well, right. I think Torin might raise his shield.
Richter, you gonna speed up? That's an athletics check. Going slowly through here is not a danger, but fast could be. Yes. Never mind. Do not mind yourself. You just start going. As you're going, there is another screeching noise, and one of these things goes down, and Torin manages to bash it out of the way with the shield, briefly enough that it hangs in the air. You can see what it is. It's almost like a cone of craggy, rocky flesh that flaps via undulating, and its eye pods kind of look at you glassily before screeching up, returning to the surface, or to the ceiling. But with Richter going so fast, a couple more of these things do swoop down at you, but none of them get that close again. Close enough that you can see them in the light and their reflective skin. With the texture of, a wet cave. But none of them get any kind of purchase or a solid attack off.
Out of curiosity, do I know what they are?
You can give me a nature check. Yeah, these are dark mantles. Is the most common name for them.
I recognize that name.
They are... they kind of fill a similar ecological niche to bats. They will eat all the bats in an area, mind. And then they hang out on the top of caves and things like that, and eat things. They usually try to drop on anything passing through a river. So if they got that drop and they latched down onto Torin, that would have been a whole dangerous situation.
Yeah, they suffocate, do they?
Drop bats.
Yeah,
That's
they're drop
my-
bats, pretty much.
That's my memory of them.
They're also sometimes called cappers because they're similar to the creature known as a cloaker. It resembles a cloak and kind of wraps around someone. This is kind of almost resembles a hat.
Maybe I'm
down
thinking of a
onto your hat.
cloaker. Yeah.
I think you probably encountered both.
I've encountered a cloaker, definitely, because one wrapped
Uh-huh.
around tail.
Very similar creatures. Cloaker is much more dangerous. Cool. You know what? That was such a good roll. I'll even tell you a little lore nugget, because you're going to come back through this way. They see via echolocation, similar to a bat, which means if you can deafen them, can't get any purchase. They'll have a harder time dropping on you. Of course, you can just speed through the area as well, like you just did, but it's harder coming back upriver, you know.
I'd relay that information along with a suggestion that we could try and mess with their echolocation in other ways. But
So they can't see the light. The light isn't what's...
It definitely seemed to attract them a bit as well.
They
They have
iPods.
eyes. They see fire both.
They can hear
Victor,
us
do
because
you
they have
have
their
your
iPods.
shield?
Yes.
Can I have it, please?
I'll stop rowing with one hand, reach for it, and pass it to her. And keep rowing.
I would take it
Takes
and angle it over the lamp so that the light is only pointing forward and down at the water.
Okay. You're out the other end of the cave now. So you won't need that now. That
Oh.
might be good for the next way in. Yeah. But
Then
And
I will
I-
put out my lamp.
put out your
I'll
lamp.
And hand
my
the shield
finger.
back.
Because it's smart to put out a lamp, because by the time you're out the other end, it is, gloomy. It's
Minotaur
evening and
City.
afternoon. You're making very quick pace. If you don't have any issues on the last leg, then you'll be there before nightfall. But it's wintertime, it's getting dark very early. Is the aim to go quick and quiet again on the other side of Minotaur territory?
Yes.
Yeah.
Please give me them rolls, Rick Torino.
Athletics and stealth. Oh no.
Fuck.
That doesn't mean that just means we're not quick.
what?
They
We
cancel
don't make
out.
any progress, but we're not seen.
So basically, I'm just like,
Absolutely. Absolutely. What happens as you leave this territory? There is a moment where you're kind of like looking back up behind you. And it's that moment, it's one of those single moments of not paying attention that the boat lurches and stops and gets caught on something. Not just the boat, but one of your oars as well. You actually manage, you have the moments of fear, like what happens if we're seen? You're out in the open right now. Everyone gets quiet, everyone hunkers down, cloaks over the boat. You even hear Minotaur up above talking in the very guttural and deep language they speak when they do not need to speak with humans.
I speak it. What is
So
it?
do I.
What
It's
do they
distant. They're just talking.
Okay.
Okay.
If you let me finish,
Sorry.
was not important. They didn't see you. That's probably the more important thing you'd recognize, right? Didn't see you. Don't think there's any threats or anything like that. These weren't people on guard. You can just hear the community, up above talking. When they pass, that's them. One of them got a text. They have to go. When they pass, you can kind of start lodge the boat free and continue down. With only a little moment of shit pantsing. Mostly good. Amaris, can you give me a perception check as the watcher of the boat?
That's a nat 20. Dean's hat off,
Yeah,
please.
you gotta take the half thing. Those were the rules.
Did you make a bet that if
That
Yeah.
was the bet.
That
Dean
was the
got a 20,
deal.
the hat comes off?
Glorious.
We're gonna see Dean's mail
Dean
pan
thought it would
baldness?
never happen.
But the thing is, I will hear your reaction. Hang on, I'll have to do this.
What is that? What is going on?
You failed that int check, buddy.
Just put it on upside down. Do one of these boys while you take the hat off.
Oh.
Oh my god!
What is happening right now? What is this?
He's gonna put the headphones on
cheating.
properly. We need to see it with the headphones off for the full impact.
All right, the hat's off.
Oh! Dean
I call
Cunning
shenanigans.
playing the system.
Yeah, that's shenanigans.
There you go.
Wow.
I didn't say I'd show my head. I said I'd take the hat off.
As I got a nat 20 on perception, can I get a pic of it from you, Dean?
I'm very confused right now, but that's okay. So,
He'll just send you a picture of the bottom of his chin.
Probably.
as the the journey continues and you get out of that sort of dangerous territory, this side of the river is very different. This is where it's starting to feed into the sea. It's starting to branch out into tributaries, and it's very rocky. It's very peaty as well. It's almost a little swamp-like in some areas. And you can see Balcatha in the distance, illuminated little orange lights by the edge of a sea that grows closer and closer. But what you noticed, Amaryllis, as you look, this village does not have any kind of farmland around it. And any kind of permanent settlement usually would, unless it was dwarven or something like that. What it does have is a large, dead area of land, as if the corruption had swept through it. As if the corruption had swept through it a long time ago. This area where nothing grows and it's just the dark soil. There's even the tattered remains of shrines to that very fertility goddess symbol that they use to their goddess. And even the tattered, caved in, collapsed in on itself remains of a church-like building, a shrine or something. Area completely abandoned, with only maybe a couple of huts remaining in it.
Amris would just stare at that for a few moments, and then, without sort of looking round at anyone else, I fear these townsfolk suffered under the dragon's wrath before she even came to the valley. I fear we shall find no aid here. No one will have the excess to provide it.
Well, it's still a port. They've got to import stuff and export stuff, so we're too far now to turn around. We need to try.
We should loot. They're not using this stuff anymore. They're not here. Let's do it.
I do not think that the town itself is empty, but it has lost its farmland. There may be, or there are likely still traders, but there will be beggars in the street, those pining desperately for sustenance.
Maybe gambling will end up being our best bet.
And you continue. Continuing towards a settlement that grows larger and larger in your vision. The journey is a little treacherous in this part because the river does split. And there's almost these rocky islands and things, and a lot of them have walkways that travel over them from people who travel across further down the river. Or down the coast, I mean. And you see Balcatha. Contrary to what you're saying, is it'll be small without excess. Balcatha is the largest settlement any of you have seen. To other people in Jarviskjir, you might say this is a medium-sized town, but compared to Cornucopia, it's huge. Sitting on the beach are clusters of stone and wood buildings. None of them super large, with these stone and wood jetties that go off across the beach. Before I get into too much further detail, because you're only just approaching, how are you going to store your boat while you're here? Are you just going to rock it up somewhere hidden? Are you going to bring it to the ports and like actually store it properly? I kind of imagine you're more
money.
Yeah, I think you're
Don't
more a
have
hide
money.
Strat.
Yeah.
Amaryllis, is there any charm that you can put on the boat to make it harder to detect?
I am afraid that hiding it within the flow is beyond my capabilities.
That's okay. I just did not think this far ahead. And you can see her being mad at herself for that. Like, normally she's a meticulous planner.
Yeah, Amaryllis would just gently lay a gnarled, barky hand on your shoulder.
Comforting.
Yeah, I would actually grab it and kind of
Like creaks.
You gotta remember that-
take
like,
comfort in it.
As Amaryllis and Belle have spent the last 2 weeks together.
Yeah.
You know, they've had some gal time.
I would absolutely
Like,
take
genuinely.
comfort in that. It would make her feel a little bit better, like that everybody else isn't mad at her for it. What about snow? Like, would we be able to cover it in snow?
Yeah. Yeah, totally. That's a plan. You might bring it up to one of the shores because you know it's got these little the shore here is dark slate and sea glass. It's very dark. So in contrast to that is the very bright snow. If you do hide it under the snow, that could be a really good way to hide it. If you bring it up onto one of the shallower of these islands and pack snow over it, that could work.
It will take some time, and it will be very cold, but I think we bury it in the snow.
What if we need to make a quick getaway?
Then we're going to have to do that on our feet anyway.
I suppose that's true.
Those fleeing upriver on a boat would not be able to outrun a bow. It is correct, we would need to go over land were that the case.
All right then. Anyone bring a shovel?
Yes, actually.
I was gonna say you got shovels recently. Good. Okay.
I guess we'll let
Belga-
Reg to deal that.
I would say Belle, give me the stealth roll because you're really the one who would know how to do this best and kind of guide Richter on actually the shoveling and stuff.
Guys, don't fail me now.
Yeah, I mean that's good enough, right? You do this a little bit of ways from the settlement. It's nighttime. You wouldn't have your lamp light. Torin with the light in his hand could give you enough light to work by if you need that. But also, you know, this kind of gloom with snow, it's actually quite easy to see anyway. And after that's done, you can make your way to the town. Like I said, Balcutter is the biggest settlement any of you have seen. Belle knows that there is a really big city north of here. But you've not made it all the way there. It's just a really long journey.
It's also, further, like,
Yeah.
a lot.
It's not necessary to go out there because anything you'd need in a big city you can get here. But actually, you always want to go there one day. City of Shinebank, that is.
I have that in my notes.
Balcutter sits on the shore as a little dock town. You can see fishing boats of a very peculiar make and boats that are straight up docking, ratty little merchant vessels and things like this. This is not the kind of settlement where a ship of good rapport would spend its time if it had any choice, unless it was trying to not be seen in one of the larger communities. As you travel through the place, the population is mostly Minotaur, and it is a settlement that is not sleepy at night. There is torchlight lighting the streets. Not like street lamps or anything, but everyone has a torch or a little like kind of makeshift campfire or something when they're sitting out. You know, people sitting on the streets having a beer and stuff like that. As you kind of walk through, just kind of getting your bearings, you see on the fairly open streets an area where one Minotaur has clearly got a bit of a stall, hoofing other Minotaurs and clearing out all the gunk and the process, which is a whole thing you actually need quite a bit of skill to do. Others cooking when you look over to the shore, because there are parts that kind of stretch over the shore, but you also look down and travel down there. There are lots of people cooking in big woks, this fish and seaweed kind of stew that smells... I mean, you've not eaten all day. Smells pretty pleasant. As well as the smell of alcohol that you would find in any sailor's den. And the sounds of kind of crappy music coming from the buildings and communities.
I knew you'd say
that.
I knew it.
But this is a very open place. While there are buildings that people are clearly living in, this area walking through would have like a square of buildings and then kind of like an awning over above, and then lots of just people sitting and selling their wares and doing their things. You would see, potion merchants just sitting and selling. And actually, as you pass one Borovar, these tall, humanoid, bald individuals with stony skin and coated in tattoos, has like a weapons and armor stall selling right now bucklers. Small shields, kind of calling out to anyone who's interested in buying them. It's maybe a bit intense to people who have spent all their time in a small village. And while it's a shady place, it doesn't seem like a lawless place. It seems like kind of the bravado of Minotaur keeps most people in check most of the time.
So, where should we go first, Belle?
We need to price potions. We need to see how much we can get for these figurines. Maybe sell them as catalysts for blessings, enchantments. And I'll have to ask around about a card game.
Okay, so, who should we speak to about potions?
I would point at the potion stall.
You really think they know what they're doing?
There's a Minotaur woman there, hood over her face, sitting, bottles by the hooves.
She's got more than
crushing some
Leha
stuff.
does right now.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but anyone could have that with a bit of ink, some other bits mixed in there. We don't know what she's selling is legit.
I mean, we're here to gamble, right?
Well, I thought we all wanted to avoid that. But maybe if we speak to her, she'll let us try or prove or something.
Leave it to me. I would walk up to her.
There is like a slight movement of the head.
Healing potions?
I have potions that can heal what afflictions you have.
Any chance I could sample? And I would pull out one of my daggers and point it on my finger. Would you care to put a drop on this to show me?
You can give me a persuasion check. It's a
Sure.
bit of a uncommon thing to do, but not an unreasonable request, you know?
Fuck.
No, but you ask the mercenaries in town. They'll tell you my potions work. They'll fix what injuries you have, from a griffin's beak to a man's blade.
I haven't a lot of coin. I need to know that what I purchase is the real deal.
You best get asking. She will point to one of the sort of outskirts buildings. Kind of like a cantina sort of thing, not quite a full tavern, kind of like a hangout, and you can hear the raucousness in there.
Valara would just respect the resolve, honestly. And then she would jingle the 5 coins and say, about how much for these?
A potion of healing. 50 coin. I'll accept coin from anywhere in the world if it's genuine gold. And I will know.
Hi. Cards?
You can find many games. Not here, I'm more interested in playing elbows than cards. But you'll find cards.
And what kind of gold would these fetch me? And she would lay out a couple of the figurines on the table.
She, pulls her hood up. She, as you may have expected, has kind of the grayed out, glassy eyes, but leans in close, pulls the candle near closer. These are quite nice. I would have no
Ripe
need
for
of
blessing.
them. But come sun up, perhaps some of the more permanent shops would buy this load from you. Could be worth quite a bit. Might be
helpful.
able to buy you a potion.
You've been very helpful. And I will see you again before I leave.
Pulls the hood back down and settles in place.
Those potions, I would go back to the boys. Those potions are real.
And the cost?
High. 50 gold each. Think we'd need 1 to 2 each.
We can't afford that.
Also, I'm not the kind of gambler they need around here. That's more Richter's wheelhouse than mine.
Can you give me a charisma check, Belle?
Sure.
Just to remember something or see if you have encountered this thing. Chatting with Minotaur and stuff like that. The game they're talking about, they're not referring to fighting pits, although there is no doubt. There is no doubt that there are fighting pits here. There's actually a Minotaur game that they play in this town a lot called Elbow. And by game, it's kind of stretching the definition of a game. What happens? Everyone sits around a table and takes turn placing a coin or something of value upon the table. There's no cards, no anything. Eventually, someone will take all of the things on the table. They will either beat everyone else up or convince the others not to take it. Usually it ends in a brawl, and someone takes everything on the table.
Still Richter's wheelhouse.
Still Richter's wheelhouse. But yeah, it's a game of intimidation and wrestling and stuff like that. High risk, high reward.
What do you mean, a game for me?
I would say exactly what Ollie just said.
Yeah, you'd explain the game, yeah.
Sounds dangerous for Richter.
You want me to bare knuckle Minotaur?
I'm not saying that. I'm saying I believe you can. But if you don't want to, I would never hold that against you.
They're quite big.
Now that's an interesting thing. Of the Minotaur you've seen here, some
They're
are very
small,
large.
They're shine bank swords.
Nah, this is a variety. Some are very big. There's actually one Minotaur watching your conversation in a doorway, like a couple of feet away, that is... He barely fits in a doorway. He's huge, 10 feet tall. Some of them are more the size of the Minotaur you've met most of the time. And then there's some that are the Shinebank Minotaurs. They're smaller and more svelte. You could almost call them the elves of Minotaurs. They would really like it if you called them that. So there's a good variety of people. There's also to say there's other races here as well, because it is a port.
I've watched you cleave Minotaur. So I believe that you stand a chance. You're just as strong and twice as ugly.
The Minotaur standing in the doorway takes a step forward into the light of the torch nearby. He's big. He's old. His fur is starting to turn silver at the tips. And one of his eyes is missing, replaced with a gold coin.
See? Handsome.
I can't help but hear that you are in need of coin, young humans.
Aye.
I happen to have quite a bit of sway around here. You want potions?
Aye.
You want potions because your town, correct me if the rumors are wrong, was attacked by a dragon.
Perhaps.
I'll step in front of the rest of the party, just to be easy
When you
there.
do that, and you do that kind of masculine gesture, he adjusts the kind of slight pieces of armor and ring mail on his body. It's good quality, but kind of haphazard. Doesn't seem to be wielding a weapon or anything, though. I'll tell it to you plain, young ones. I got no love for the dragon Malekith, and I would be more than happy to assist you. I got sway here. If you help here, here can help you. There's no reason that our communities should be at each other's throats.
I would elbow Torin. Be like, I like that. Honest work for honest pay.
Aye.
Help how?
Oh, we have a lot of strong folk who come through, but not many strong folk who could work together. I heard that your village has dealt with all kinds of monsters since the dragon attacked.
Respectfully, Elder, the last time we were asked to work and slay monsters by another race, we were nearly enslaved.
A smile pulls on his face and he leans down and is like, why you got to bring race into it? Merely saying that we work together. We live in the valley too. Just the mouth of it.
Balara would extend a hand, actually, and be like, I'm Balara. Let's start over.
My name is Charon.
What would you have us do, Charon?
There is a giant on the coast. It lures in ships and feasts on their crew. But It has been starving of late. I do not trust the mercenaries that make this port home. I do trust in the fortitude of humans. I've encountered it times before.
What would we bring that Minotaurs wouldn't to this?
We would work together, you would think you wouldn't charge in head first. Minotaur big. Giants are bigger.
So you'd have us slay a giant.
Aye. Or trap it. It's to be taken care of.
How much?
Well, a large group of those potions. 6, 8.
Does the price change should the giant survive?
I'm sure people in this town would like seeing a giant dragged in. Sounds dangerous. But if you could, it would be amusing to say the least.
There's no need to put the poor creature through more misery than it deserves.
A man of the land. We don't have many of those here anymore. That would do you well. Take it or leave it, Weens.
10 potions of healing.
Give me a persuasion roll. Or intimidation, to be fair.
Fucking dinner!
What's wrong
Cooked
with
his
me?
dice!
Nice.
There's like a stare down. One of his one eye. Very well. 10. I'll throw in some coin for good measure. If you do good work here, you get good rewards. And I think you might need all the help that you can get.
Agreed. Where can we stay for cheap?
He will just kind of like point with a big hand to the building he was kind of standing in front of, which is kind of an inn tavern sort of thing.
Balara would look to the rest of the group.
Sounds like a good deal to me.
You'll find the
Tonight we
giant
eat
south.
and sleep. Tomorrow we fight a giant.
South. By the water. You see crashed ships. That's where it'll be. And he kind of walks past Richter. A definite like bump. But you kind of get the idea that that's like, it's almost endearing. And he kind of like laughs a bit to himself, and you hear him getting into conversations with other people. As he leaves, it's clear. The way they're talking to him, it's clear he's important, you know.
Okay, everybody. Rest up.
Do we have anyone here that's studied giant?
The language? No, I do not speak it, but I can temporarily borrow the ability from the flow.
What if we could convince him to give us a toe and leave?
This giant eats people.
Aye.
and has been for a while.
Aye. But now it's starving and weak.
It's starving, and it eats people.
It would be a risk to converse with it in and of itself. If it is the type of giant that would readily eat people that has fallen far from its kin, then it is likely not open to reason.
I just think it's worth a shot.
I don't want to see you get your, well, picked up, crushed, eaten by this thing.
My advice is the same as my father's when me and Torn were little. When you fight a foe bigger than yourself, aim low and try and get it to the ground. We needn't talk to this thing, as Torn said it. It eats people.
We may not need to fight it either. If it is among cliffs, perhaps it can be lured and a boulder could be rolled off a higher level onto it, or similar.
Maybe we should ask some of the sailors what the coast's like. Remember, we're going into this creature's home. It's lived here for presumably at least a few years. It's dangerous to underestimate an opponent. Weak, starving. It's on its home turf.
Yes.
That is why the silver-backed one spoke to us rather than the Minotaur.
I'm fast, and I'm slippery. I can make good bait for this boulder plan. It would be a quick death, Torin. It wouldn't need to suffer.
Well, I didn't mean to say combat is combat, but dragging the poor creature and humiliating it, it's not right.
I don't like it either, but if it helps Cornucopia, it's what we have to do. That's the only reason I asked. Don't know if I could have brought myself to do it anyway.
The assumption of this boulder plan, as you put it, is that there is a higher plane than its home, and that a boulder sits atop that plane.
My suggestion was merely that we take the lay of the land and work a trap, not specifically a boulder necessarily, but metaphorically, perhaps.
I
Well,
could always lure it lower too, just saying.
we know there'll be a variety of shipwrecks around. If we scout the areas safely and carefully, we might be able to make use of some timber. If we found a reasonable length and sharpened one end, all it would take is the creature chasing after Belle, and it may well impale itself on a spike. However, I wouldn't really want to put you in dangerous way like that, Belle. On your own, you'll be too far away for us to do anything if it gets you.
If this plan fails, then there's only 2 of us to fight it instead of 3. No offense, Amaryllis.
She smiles slightly.
If we do fight it, even 3 versus 1, humans versus giants, doesn't
giant.
go well. I don't look forward to taking a hit from that thing.
Neither do I.
Don't worry, guys. We'll be all right.
But if I do my job correctly, you won't have to suffer a blow.
There's a strong sea breeze here. It's a good place. It's a healthy breeze.
I say, for tonight, we eat, we rest. Tomorrow we put eyes on the giant and the battlefield. And we make a plan then.
Of course, I'm not suggesting we just walk in and fight.
Of course.
Okay, dinner time.
Yes. How much does dinner cost?
Good question.
I have 11 gold, by the way.
Oh, it's gonna be a matter of silver.
I have literally no money whatsoever.
You'll eat sunlight and you'll like it.
Exactly. Conscious decision. I would have no money at the start of this game. It made no sense for me to have any.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be like a silver each for food and water, a bed, or a place to sleep. You're not
I
getting
would
a
buy
bed.
it for everyone.
Oh, sure.
That's good, because if you buy a portion of food for Amaryllis, it really just means that you guys are having a better meal. Because Amaryllis might eat the smallest amount.
We're gonna make her eat.
Gonna need to grow up big and strong.
She needs to have a convincing belly for when the giant tears it open. He's like, oh, sausage and beans. Nom, nom, nom.
This is one of those places where, you know, you go inside and it is, first of all, there's this overwhelming smell of Minotaur musk. When you go into a place that Minotaur are living in that's closed in.
Yum.
Cow smell. It's intense. And then you would get, you know, a little table, and they don't seem to care much for chairs. You know, there's a low table that you kind of like lounge by. You get the food, they're haphazardly thrown on the table as these wooden bowls of this perpetual seafood stew. It's definitely one of those stews that's like, there's always a stew, they just add stuff to it. Some of you get like little bits of crab, some of you get more parts of like seaweed and stuff. The seaweed is very much an important part of the stew as a thickening agent. It's not bad. It's actually like, you know, pretty good food, especially after a day of hard work getting all the way
Like
up here.
miso soup.
It's not. It's a bit weird to say that it's kind of Japanese flavors, but it is.
It's like a healthy seafood broth.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
There would be a watery ale as well in big horn mugs. Do you think, is that okay?
Valara would abstain from alcohol.
It's definitely one of those things where it's you drink the ale because you can't drink the water.
Okay.
It's very weak. But that you can also still do that. But up to you.
It's fine. Tarn will drink hers.
And then you get your bed. You go to another part of this building, and there's just a bunch of you know,
You head
warm
into the
bed
common
rolls. Yeah, there's a couple of people asleep already. Snoring of a Minotaur is a intense thing to try and sleep by.
Oh no.
I'm
This is
used to the snores of a drunk father, so I'm fine.
Yeah, you're good. You're fine. You're like, yeah, bed.
This is the night we become murderers. 3 a.m.
Just 'cause
we
you
have
can't
enough.
sleep because there's snoring.
Ring rave
muffled.
moment. You just
Yeah.
had enough.
This is how murder hobos are made. Sleep apnea. There's definitely one of the people in here is just a...
And it stops, and you're like, oh, great. And then it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But after a long and tiresome day, you complain, but you fall to sleep quite quickly. And yeah, Toron, you're right. Even though this place is shady, there is a comforting touch to the air. And this is a good place to take a little break. Why not? You know.
Sweet, I have to
Good
pee.
times.
Excuse me?
Sweet
Well,
pea.
if you're peeing here, you're definitely peeing in a hole. You ain't getting no nice toilets here.
And it smells of Minotaur pee.
I feel like Balara would have a shiwi.
I feel like that does actually make sense.
Like her
Whittled it
dad,
herself.
like carved her and
Ah.
varnished her.
You've
on her
got to make your
16th
own
birthday.
shiwi when
I
you
know
come
She
you
of
ain't
age.
fashioned
going
it
out.
out of leaves, waxy leaves.
Out of seaweed.
Right. You're cancelled.
I got